amplification. The sound is literally like penetrating through. That's P.O.C. The light source is directly above my head, and that is stalking and a helicopter.
This is LAPD that is group stalking, as I just captured on video at 11:52 in the morning. That's the name of the video at 11:52 and 6 seconds. At 11:52 in the morning, I am standing outside of my leasing office, which is the most precise address would be 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, zip code 90026. This is capturing what is the criminal pattern of conduct, which again, you're looking at by virtue of pure numerosity. Again, the entity is engaged in what is a very highly psychotic targeting conduct in a helicopter, flying circles around my office, flying over my office repeatedly, and also you also saw flying directly over my head. And as I am inside of my apartment, you're also recognizing the targeting conduct with regard to my location in my apartment. What you pay attention to is the maintenance of engineered light. And it is indeed engineered light because normal sunlight does not have the penetrative, concentrated magnification properties that this engineered light has. The power and ability to do gymnastics, reaching into doorways, reaching under structures, piercing through closed objects such as closed blinds. This is what the entity is maintaining in addition to what is the light source. And on this video, as you saw earlier, the entity that is group stalking on an ongoing basis, as I captured, the entity is maintaining relevant positioning, amplified audible activity, through as what I documented inside of my office, in addition to what is plane stalking using helicopters. This is a different video. Let me show you a video where the entity is stalking by helicopter. And this is what was heavily documented this morning. 9 a.m. to 8:37 in the morning up until about 10 a.m. the entity 8:37, 9 a.m., 9:12, 9:21, 9:36, 9:59, and this is the entity's engaged in what is ongoing circling, directly crossing path, flying directly over my head, repeatedly doing so, and as I would stop recording, repeatedly starting it up again. This is the entity that's doing so in a specific environment, and what I want you to look at, first of all, this is all with regard to deliberate when you're looking at the environment. The entity that is, by the way, LAPD. That's the entity that's group stalking using helicopters. So there's no mistake about it. The entity is using helicopters to engage in the criminal elements of monitoring. And what is captured at 9:12 in the morning, there is already pre-existing documentation showing what is the maintenance of a light source at this same property as early as 9 o'clock. And this is when I'm reporting. I am reporting, but when I'm documenting the state and in the workplace. Okay, I start my job at 8 o'clock in the morning. And this is already heavily documented. This is how I'm getting the light source in the laundry room at 8:47 in the morning, while you're just looking out of the window of that same laundry room. And in that same laundry room, that light source, which is necessarily remaining over the property such that I can aim my camera out the window of that same laundry room, and at 4:18 p.m., the light source is hovering over the parking lot, creating what is the literally the false guise and equally impossible and highly demonic form for what is the malice. In other words, this is supposed to be the illusion that you see the light source and that sunlight that's appearing above your head on ceilings and creating multiple shadows while you are walking through it, and appearing upright on surfaces where light is going at a downward trajectory and not reflecting horizontally through objects and creating the reflection, the shapes of that's all engineered light. So this is what I captured. This is 9 o'clock in the morning. And so just to be clear, while I'm capturing the entity group stalking, you're going to remember what is already captured. The entity is indeed engaged in a pattern of conduct of group stalking and acting in concert with third-party group stalkers such as Universal Waste. And Universal Waste is engaging in what is crossing path in the specific environment.
They are engaging in
the specific environment, which you will recognize as you look at the light source through the window of this third party. You will see the light source that's directly behind me. He is crossing path under that light source, and he represents the people that say this is just a demon that's operating a commercial vehicle who's engaged in group stalking with the LAPD, where you are understanding There is no iteration that will ever become the natural environment where you are stalked doing the exact same criminal conduct in what is a demonic environment. So by virtue of the ability to keep a light source from the beginning to the end of the day, it is equally demonic when you are covering up a light source and still engaging in what is the stalking and terrorism in helicopters, which is what I documented repeatedly on video and in still images this morning. This is the repeated criminal conduct of LAPD using helicopters. And the more that I documented on video, the more that the LAPD engaged in that. It is never forgotten the specific environment, which is already captured, and you only have to capture it once. But I want to give you a tutorial of what is the psychotic and criminal conduct, which is going to be prosecuted as terrorism in the United States, in the state of California. The entity is already captured engaging in what is the maintenance of an unnatural environment, which is where the criminal system of federal group stalking and monitoring is underway. And so I will remind you, not only did you see video last night that I referenced, last night was May 13, 2024, of the light source outside of my living room window. This is during the 8 o'clock hour. I've already captured, it's already on the record, of the light source as early as 6:45, and while I'm in the same apartment. Never is that going to be the sun over my head, as I just captured moments ago at 11:52 in the morning. But I'm going to give you video for purposes of looking at it together. We're going to go through this together. We can reason through this together. The Los Angeles Police Department are engaged in state surveillance. This is America's version of terrorism, and this is a demon-possessed law enforcement agency. And I want to be clear, it's not just the specific environment that is revealing the criminal conduct and the condition of the Los Angeles Police Department. It's not limited to the specific addresses. For example, the corporate headquarters of the headquarters of the police department, which is, I believe, at 101 West Los Angeles Street or something like. I documented their headquarters address. It's not limited to that address. It's not limited to the police academy that's in relevant position to my apartment. It's not limited to just the demons that are using the helicopters. It's the entire Los Angeles Police Department. It's the entire department. Okay, they are demon infected. They are engaged in state surveillance, and it is not a coincidence that the specific environment is now here in LA County, where I remain, where it's making the entity is engaged in a grand departure from the maintenance of the specific environment, which is already speaking to and establishing a state system, while you have that which are independently establishing impossible occurrence. The pattern of conduct amongst the entity with the engineered light while they cross path, the pattern of the specific environment remaining any and everywhere that I'm at. You're making a grand departure while you're now engaging in that while I'm in LA County. It is not just the demons that are using the helicopters flying over, okay, which the federal government can narrow down who's flying what, going where, at whatever time. It's not just that. It's the entire department. It includes the chief of police. Okay, this is a demonic entity that's acting through corrupt law enforcement agencies, and California is engaged in state surveillance. This state surveillance system is demonic, and it shall be prosecuted as exactly what it is. Terrorism. Okay, so you're going to look at this light source at this same property while LAPD is group stalking in a helicopter, and the same elements of monitoring remain underway. The people of the state and the state surround a relevant position with methods of light activity. The environment is engineered at all times, day and night. Okay, you saw that this morning inside of my apartment in the dark, while engineered lights appearing on the ceiling above my head and my shadows appearing above my head on the ceiling while LAPD is flying over my apartment, okay? Engaged in 24-hour surveillance. These dizzy diaper-wearing demons are now flying around my office, where it has already been captured that you are still demon-possessed and you are still engaged in that criminal conduct, and that there is no time of the day that the light source can be present where you engage in, like you see here, crossing path, engaging in the same criminal system, and the light source is covered up, okay? And that's what's captured on video, where the entity is group stalking by a helicopter, and the sky is cloudy, okay? That's not in any way speaking to any contradiction, speaking to any exception with regard to the pattern of conduct and the elements of monitoring. This is speaking to what is equally engaged in what is the demonic control of the environment. And I'm not saying the LAPD are controlling the environment. I'm speaking to the fact that these are demons in a demonic environment engaged in what are demonic methods of targeting someone. And yes, you're talking about what is demonic activity. And it is the act of the demonic while you see, for example, light on my ceiling, while you see my shadow appear above my head. While you're looking at what are elements of monitoring, audible activity, there's flashing light on that helicopter, that's light activity, amplified and sound, which is that helicopter, and they're crossing path. Those are the elements of monitoring right there. The entity is surrounding in traffic, the entity is surrounding by the people of the state who are living in relevant position. All of the elements of monitoring remain underway, and the light source that is covered up is equally speaking to the specific environment. There is no contradiction with regard to the elements as I have laid it out, and while the entity is continuously engaged in that. And so the entity flies directly over my head. The entity flies in relevant position, flying over the building 1802 crossing path with me, and the light source is covered up. You have what is showing this light source as which is relevant to the same time frame. This is not the true or natural, in other words, environment. So it's not, in other words, just a naturally cloudy day. You're not even going to argue that. You're talking about whether or not the light source is covered up or revealed. It's the light source and not the sun. And there is no portion of time, which is what the entity is engaging in, covering up the light source. And why are you covering up the light source? Because I'm naming state actors who are going to federal prison, such as what is necessary, the federal raid of what is the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, a state facilitating venue, where the documented maintenance of a light source, which is not possibly the sun, which is at the same time remaining over me in Los Angeles. No, that's not the sun that's over the courthouse, as I documented during the same time of year. And the entity is engaged in the same demonic patterns, including crossing paths with engineered light, swiping all across the courthouse. Just like Universal Waste is engaging in here, where you will see the light source through the window. You'll see him. He's crossing path in that specific environment.
Monitoring in the private space as well.
All right, so I want to make sure that you can see that. This is the light source through the window. It's right over my head. And I'm in this same parking lot at 9:03 in the morning while LAPD is group stalking by helicopter at 8:37, at 9 a.m., at 9:12, at 9:21, at 9:36, at 9:59, at 10:49, at 11:34. The entity is maintaining a specific environment, including the maintenance of this light source for the duration of the day, capturing it one time at this hour. That's the light source right there, okay? He's crossing paths with me while that which is not possibly the sun is over the property. There is no duration of time where the sun is going to be present from 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's at the same property, by the way, as I'm stepping out to capture video this morning at 11:52. And the LAPD is again group stalking using helicopter. And the demons are engaging in what is that surrounding conduct. These are demons that are necessarily lying in wait for purposes of crossing path any direction that I go. You don't have to look at me, be next to me, or engaging in what is knowledge of me, acknowledging me. James Young crosses path while I'm stepping out capturing that helicopter activity at 1814 number 1. That's a demon. Carol Lee crosses path using her vehicle for purposes of light activity and crossing path. This is a demon that knows where I'm at as I walk to the opposite side of the property. That's a demon, replete with what is light activity creation. Carlo Lopez is a demon affiliated with speaker companies directly as a third-party group stalking employee for a third-party company. Crossing path using the dumpster as a means of audible activity creation. While I engage in swiping my phone screen, new activity, a demon following, creating audible activity and crossing path. That's a demon engaging in the state system at the property where I've already shown the maintenance of a light source at 9:03 in the morning. And on this day where this entity deleted this evidence, okay, this evidence of the totality of this video was deleted by the entity because I was going into depth about the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. You can delete whatever you want because that evidence remains. This entity has already engaged in kidnapping. You're talking about what is sufficient for purposes of direct testimony. I have established that the criminal system is already in existence. You're understanding what are going to be the rules and the policies that surround a public entity engaging in the system. But nonetheless, I want to make sure that you understand the entity is maintaining this light source. This is 9 o'clock in the morning.
Space as well. Mondays,
and
Wednesdays.
then this is engineered light that then moves across a building while you are driving under that which is not even possibly the sun. Because the entity is maintaining this light source, as I will remind you about what I just captured at 11:52 when I'm standing basically at the same location on the sidewalk in this parking lot. And at 11:52, the light source is remaining over me. It's not moving anywhere. Okay, as you all also see at 4 in the afternoon, where you're looking at demons such as Carla Lopez at 5 in the afternoon, while that light source over the same parking lot. Okay, this is the P.O.C. Look at engineer light.
And Fridays, they're engaged in this act of terrorism, coming onto the grounds, engaging in the criminal elements, monitoring with the state and LAPD. That is the impossible light moving across the building.
That is an act of terrorism by a third-party group stalker that acts uniformly. Okay, that has been captured thousands of times by the people of the state, even in an entirely different region. This is the existence of a system. This is at 9 o'clock in the morning, where the entity is group stalking today. Okay, doing so maliciously because you are covering up the light source while you have the ability to maintain a light source that's not possibly the sun. That's the demonic, by the way. That's the evidence of the demonic. You are doing the same thing with regard to the evidence of the demonic with the ability to refrain from showing that light source is not the natural weather for it. It's not the natural environment, because the sun is never going to be at one address for the duration of the day, which is evidence that already exists. For example, when I'm capturing it from 9 o'clock in the morning, what I captured on that day at 9 o'clock in the morning is relevant. It's the same time of year. It's the same address. I am still here, and the entity is engaging. Just last night, the entity engaging in what is the demonic imitation of a sunset. I live at the property where I work. Never is the sun going to be present 9 o'clock in the morning during the same time of year, same exact time, and 6 p.m. So you can engage in the sunrise on Monday morning and engage in what is at the property, the same property, a sunset the following Friday. It's equally impossible. Whether the entity is combining that impossible environment, the maintenance of that impossible environment on the same day, or breaking it apart, having a sunrise and a sunset at the same address, literally in alignment to me while I'm inside of the same apartment. Okay, but I want you to look at what I captured. This is the entity that is, maintaining this environment. This is the same parking lot. This is the same property. While LAPD is stalking, hold on.
Penetrating through, that's P.O.C.
This is what's captured at 11:52 in the afternoon. And I want you to see, this is the light source that's directly over my head. Okay, this is 11:52 in the morning. This is 9 o'clock in the morning to 11:52. This is over 2.5 hours later. And you're looking at me walk outside of my office, and I'm walking on the sidewalk, and I'm walking in the same parking lot. And while I do that, not only am I capturing the audible activity,
that's P.O.C.
of helicopters.
The light source is directly above my head, and that is stalking and a helicopter.
Okay, so I need you to pay attention to something. It's directly over my head at 11:52 in the morning. On the same time
is in relevant position as well.
Looking at, again, where am I located? Right here. I'm standing at the parking lot. So behind my person, this white vehicle right here. In other words, at the trunk. So that's what I mean by behind. In that direction toward my leasing office, the light source is right behind me, which is what you see through his window. That is essentially the same exact position that it's at when I'm capturing this video today at 11:52. So let me remind you about what you see through his window while he's crossing path. That's the light source, okay? The light source is behind me. Okay, behind me is this location where I'm at my entryway. This is behind me on that day. The light source is in essentially the same position. While I'm standing in the parking lot, this is 11:52 in the morning, okay, that I captured today. And the entity is amplifying helicopter activity. I just want to speak to what's impossible. That's not the sun that's going to be at the same position 2 hours later. It's not the sun that's going to be at the same property at 6 hours later. Okay, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 hours later as I captured it last night, which I'm going to show you that on video. The entity is engaged in what is demonic activity using helicopters. The entity is engaged in demonic activity while James Jung is engaging in this demonic environment. In this demonic environment, let me repeat that, you are looking at demonic activity, the maintenance of somebody in the path. While they do so, they are creating light activity, moving in the engineer light, moving a vehicle, using the vehicle lights as light activity. The entity is doing so, supplementing even in the shade, light audible activity, which is what Carlo Lopez is doing while he's walking around in engineer light activity creation. While you're looking at the maintenance of the light source that reveals itself, okay, at 11:52, it's not forgotten that it was already documented as early as 6:45 in the morning. Nonetheless, we could just look at what this third party was doing on at 9:03 in the morning at the same property less than a month ago. Okay, this was a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. You're not forgetting that. And this is what the entity is doing because they want me to refrain from naming Lisa Rogan, for example, who's going to federal prison because the entity is keeping the light source over that Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. 10:29 in the morning, 9:42 in the morning, where I'm documenting the maintenance of a light source here in Los Angeles. And that's never going to be the natural environment. Why? Because the entity is maintaining a light source, stalking with via corrupt law enforcement agencies that like to use helicopters. And these demons are of the specific mental illness, revealing psychotic, sociopathic mental illness with regard to their increase of that criminal and aggressive and intimidating. This is by an entity, intimidation by an entity that is by a demon possessed one that's engaged in a matter of public corruption, monitoring you on the venue of the internet as you capture video repeating helicopter activity, as you capture video repeating helicopter activity again in the specific environment where it's already shown that you have engaged in what is impossible, that the light source, the sun rather, would be over my head at 9 o'clock in the morning. at the same address. While you are not mistaken, the entity stalking in a helicopter is stalking at the same property where the specific environment is already established. And like I said before, there is no point whereby you are covering up the light source for the first half of the day and then unveiling that.
All right, I'm going to document
and then unveiling that light source at some other point, some latter point in the day, such that you are then somehow forgetting the fact that you already captured a sunrise and a sunset, which is impossible with regard to the duration of time and the coexisting evidence of what is a sunrise and an entirely different location. Which you are not looking at the sunrise while it's over me at Mercy House at Bonneview and State Street in Ontario, California, at 435 South Bonneview on March 14th, daylight savings time. The sunrise and also the sunrise over the hillside while I'm facing the east side outside of my living room window. Okay, that's not occurring. That light activity is not going to be shared. Neither one are going to coexist. It's certainly not creating light activity through my closed blinds on my living room wall and the floor while the entity is engaged in a sunrise at Mercy House at 435 South Bonneview, March 14th during daylight savings time in 2022. Okay, that's the ongoing evidence. The entity is maintaining this light source while you are equally stalking, equally engaging in what is the stalking in the demonic environment. It doesn't cease to be the demonic environment because you are stalking in the helicopter and the light source is covered up. The ability to keep a light source all day long is the ability to also refrain from that light source being shown. But upon it being revealed, if you will, where does it show up? It shows up right over my head. This is as equally group stalking and demonic as it is where the entity is maintaining the light source at 9 o'clock in the morning, which is what I've documented here at the same exact property. Universal Waste is group stalking under a light source that's remaining over my head and the same position that I captured at 11:52 in the morning today. Okay, that's non-movement, by the way. 2.5 hours, that's non-movement of the sun. That's exclusive with regard to the property of the Alvarado Gardens at 1800 through 1818 North Alvarado Street. It is within the pattern of conduct. It is not the natural environment. And the entity is maintaining a light source, as I'm showing on video here at 11:52, where I am in a position where I am standing here. I am in a position to be behind where I was located at 9:03 in the morning. And you see that light source through the window, the passenger side window of that third party group stalker. Okay, who was acting with the same police department, engaging in what is rampant and psychotic stalking and surveillance and harassment as a demon-possessed entity and a corrupt law enforcement agency that gets gratification. The demon-possessed, they derive pleasure from engaging in this very demented criminal conduct. Okay, and you're talking about what is delusional with regard to you're not protecting anybody. You're fully exposed, and I mean it's going to be literally a roster with regard to the names of those that are going to be removed from the Los Angeles Police Department and going to federal prison. But this is what the entity is doing. This is by duration of time period. I want to be clear: 9:03 to 11:52. This is the same position of the light source. Okay, the entity is acting on an ongoing basis, engaged in the P.O.C. Go ahead, Carlo. Thank you. Have a great day. The entity is engaged in the elements of monitoring while you're listening to that. He's engaged in monitoring on video at 11:52 while that light source is in the same position that you see it at 9:03 while I'm stepping outside of my leasing office. That's capturing the impossible, but it goes beyond that because Carlo Lopez, who is demonstrating impunity right now, just like he demonstrated in that video this morning at 11:52 where I'm at the same location, I want you to remember what I documented. When you are documenting a government that's engaged in a highly malicious criminal conduct, which is demented in its nature, it's the ability to specifically use the evidence revealing both that demonic nature and that criminal conduct. And it's also going to be established by virtue of that actor because it's the government. That is, by definition, stalking, remaining where you are, following wherever it is that you go. And that is inherently harassment. But this is not ordinary harassment by just a demon-possessed law enforcement agency. LAPD represents the state. They're acting in conformity to a pattern of conduct established by police departments that were monitoring me before LAPD. And I mean before I moved to LA, because the LAPD was monitoring me when I was living in my car in LA County in 2018. LAPD was monitoring as I came from San Bernardino County on the Metro Link at Cesar Chavez in Los Angeles. And the entity was maintaining a light source over that train station at Union Station. It wasn't over Alvarado Gardens. LAPD was monitoring then as well, which I captured on podcasts and I captured in video and images. The LAPD is a long documented P.O.C. LAPD was documented in 2018 engaged in what is a criminal act of abuse of they're engaged in state surveillance, and then as though you have reasonable suspicion, no you don't, and that officer's going to federal prison. I have them by name. I believe it's Umada, Officer Umada with the LAPD. He's going to federal prison. All right. And because of his outward demonstration of demon possession, pulling me over amongst the impossible light activity, which the entity is engaged in federal stalking, that act by this same police department is what inspired the entirety of the P.O.C. I don't want to say that inspired, but that criminal conduct was part of the motivation. We'll say it that way, of documenting the entirety of the state of California. And you are documenting the state of California because it's the unnatural environment. So to suggest that that's the sun over, for example, Uber headquarters in San Francisco is unreasonable, and it's scientifically impossible. While I'm showing you what is maintaining presence over me, under the malicious guise that would ever be the sun, while I'm still here at the same property at 5 o'clock in the evening. And so let me show you video of that while you're looking at the light source over me at 9 o'clock in the morning, and a third party is crossing path while you see that light source in the window. And I'm still at the same property as you saw yesterday at 4 in the afternoon and at 5 in the afternoon. So let's look at what's remaining with the light source and what is under no circumstances any deviation from that criminal system, and equally probative of what is high malice and impunity and what is worthy of disbanding and federal prison for a prolonged term. This is also relevant to RICO charges of the state and state actors, and also relevant for what is grounds of federal prison. I want to be clear. Title 18 speaks to the severity of the circumstances. The government monitoring you and keeping you under surveillance is as severe as it will get with regard to the federal prosecution and what supports what I advocate, which is federal prison, while that entity is engaged in federal stalking. So let's be clear. Let's look at 5:21 p.m. At 5:21 p.m., I'm inside of the same leasing office. So you're remembering duration of time. I'm showing what is relevant to what's supposedly the natural environment. So that would be the sun over me at 9:03 in the morning. So you want to say that it's a cloudy day on May 13, 2024. That's fine. You can have it, because there's no point in time where that will ever be the natural environment, regardless of what time that light source appears directly above my head, by the way. This is what the entity is doing at the same property where it's already documented presence during the workday at 9 o'clock in the morning, which you saw Universal Waste engaging in what is also unilateral demonstration of criminal conduct, and that's the engineered light moving across the building. The admission of a stalker, a group stalker. The group stalkers are demon possessed. Okay. This is P.O.C.
1471.
And that is Carlo Lopez, who is going to federal prison. You saw him group stalking using the dumpster as a means of audible activity with knowledge of what I'm doing on a communication device. Literally, as I touch my phone, that demon uses a dumpster to create audible activity. All right, while he is stalking in the path. While the light source is where? Directly over my head at 11:52 in the morning. I am at this same property at what is, again, 5. This video is captured. Let me look at this again. This video is captured at 5:21 is when I stopped recording, and this video is approximately 20 to 25 minutes long. So this is essentially 4:50 to 5 p.m. This is the same address. I'm at the I'm at the same property. It's not funny, but this is the direct evidence of what is demonic activity that's underway while the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, stalking in helicopters. They're doing so while the light source is covered up. There is no point where you are ever forgetting the evidence that's already captured. And so you need to look at it. Sure, look at the light source that's over my leasing office while it's behind me, and a third party is crossing path, and you can see that light source through that window. That light source is not over the Upland Public Library, by the way. It's directly over this property where it remains as I capture on video at approximately 4:45, 5 p.m. yesterday on May 13th, 2024. That's duration of time analysis. That's not the sun, okay? And neither is it going to be sun that's creating the light activity while you're looking at a demon crossing path, which is what Universal Waste engaged in at 9:03 in the morning. So this is what I want you to recall. You're looking at the same property at 5. I ended this video at 5:21 p.m. So this is the same property. Look at the shadow of the palm tree. It's directly above the palm tree. This is not over the Upland Public Library at 450 North Euclid Avenue. Contrary to what I documented when I'm in San Bernardino County, when I'm in the city of Upland, when I'm in the building of the Upland Public Library, okay? The entity is maintaining light activity in order to suggest that that's the sun. The target individual has no basis to speak to anybody stalking or stalking with light. This is supposedly the claims of a paranoid schizophrenic. The entity is maintaining this light source, however, while I am documenting the maintenance of the light source in a manner. Hold on, let me show you. I can give you a specific example. 17. The entity is maintaining the light source. Here is the Upland Public Library. Same time of year. This is engineered light that's appearing in the depths of that Upland Public Library. This is a documented third-party group stalker, okay? This is a state actor also because of the nature of that property. That is the Upland Public Library, which is the city of Upland, that's engaged in criminal monitoring. The entity is suggesting that the sun is directly above the roof and at some angle whereby sunlight is going to penetrate down into the depths of that and touch the floor. That's what the entity, by virtue of engaging in that illusion, it is an admission that the light source is present. Okay, because light that's not occurring from street lamps, that's not occurring from the lamps that are installed in the building. If you've seen the entity engaging in what is the maintenance of engineered light through the roof of that building, this is what the entity is maintaining, okay? And this is at 4:28 p.m. All right, while the entity is maintaining a light source. This is what's the form. While the entity is maintaining a light source here over me in LA, where the entity does so in the morning, covering up a light source, you are not forgetting what is already captured. And that is capturing what is, first of all, impossible light activity, that the sun is ever going to be present over a property for the duration of the day. And by the way, a timeline from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5:21 p.m. is speaking to duration of the day analysis. It's impossible that that's the sun. Where this impossible environment, where you're looking at the heavy duty stalking using helicopters, those are the hallmarks. That's the identification of the pattern of conduct. And this is what the LAPD is engaging in. LAPD is engaging in it with impunity.
That's called amplification. The sound is literally like penetrating.
I'm speaking to what is demonic by virtue of what is the amplification of helicopter activity inside of my office. This is occurring even when the demons that are LAPD are at a great distance from my apartment or my office, but yet I'm still able to capture and be disturbed in my workday with the noise of that helicopter activity. And what also coexists with that, that's called amplification. The demon possessed are targeting you through the noise of the activity that they're engaging in, which is how you are understanding what is the mentally ill, psychopaths that want to target you in ways that are not perceptible or identifiable or any recognizable. Who's going to understand what the target individual is asserting? Oh my goodness, they're targeting me with noise of stalking, with dumpsters, for example, the sound of crashing dumpsters, and you don't see anybody around with any dumpsters. In fact, waste management, they're around the corner emptying dumpsters. And those are how demons are targeting you with their audible activity. And the paranoid schizophrenic, that's criminal defamation. To target an individual, which you will recognize through the engineered light that surrounds them, through the light source that's over them, through the stalking by the state using helicopters, namely. The entity is engaging in what is targeting through audible activity, and it's supposed to appear on its face something that the target individual is making up. They're making it up. And there's nothing that you can see. That's amplification. The entity also engages in that same level where you're flying directly over my head, though. Okay, this is how I'm able to see them doing laps at a great distance around my apartment, and they're at a great distance, but it's impossible that I can hear you inside of my apartment at that distance. Those are demons that are targeting. That's a method of targeting. It's the same thing with regard to a demon that's looking to the left and right, walking outside of their apartment like you see James Jung doing, driving into the parking lot like you see Carol Lee doing, walking by and emptying something in the dumpster like you see Carlo Lopez doing, while they want to outwardly appear. That's failing, though. It's failing when you're looking at the light source over the target individual. You're looking at the heavy-duty stalking by the state using helicopters. You're looking at the ongoing body of evidence, not the clouded sky where the entity thinks that you're not hiding anything. You're not hiding anything. It's already been documented. You only have to capture the demonic environment, the specific environment, one time, because it's never naturally occurring. The sunrise and the sunset never naturally occurs at one address, ever. So what are you also exhibiting? You're also exhibiting obsession. And this is relevant to the necessary mental examinations of that entity that is stalking and doing so
All right, I'm
in
going to
the
document
specific
the
environment. So what I want to go over, what is the purpose for engaging in that? The entity is doing so with knowledge of the government actors that I document heavily engaging in this criminal system. For example, it is 1:14 p.m. And while I started this video before 12:47 p.m., pay attention to the passage of time. It's been 33 minutes. The documentation is showing that during the same time of your daylight savings time, that there is a sun that's over the San Bernardino Superior Court. And I will let you know that that's impossible to be the case. While the entity is engaged in, however, maintaining a light source directly over my head and stalking by helicopter. This is San Bernardino Superior Court. State actors such as Thomas Garza and the San Bernardino Police Department are documented at the same time while I'm capturing this unnatural environment, what is never coexisting at any time of year, while the entity is engaged in what is a documented sunrise and sunset at one address, which is Alvarado Gardens, which is what I've captured while the light source is remaining over me at Okay, I can't adjust the bright. While the entity is maintaining a light source over me while I'm at the San Bernardino Superior Court. helicopter.
over the
And the
courthouse
light
flying
source is
over
right
me,
over my head.
aware that I am using the Wi-Fi. They must have been advised by someone on the Judicial Council.
All right, that's the light source that's directly over my head. The entity is maintaining a light source here, appearing and disappearing with the light source. The light source is not over the San Bernardino Superior Court. It's right here over my head where it remains. All right, and it's zenith right here over my head. Okay, that's the P.O.C. And you're talking about where LAPD is group stalking still at 5:21 p.m. and the light source is still here 5 hours later. You're remembering what is captured while the entity is maintaining this specific environment, doing so at no point in the day, covering up the light source, and for it to appear at 12 in the afternoon is under no circumstances suggesting that is the sun. That's captured over the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, by the way, at 9:42 in the morning. Or at 10:23 in the morning during the same time of year, which is the pattern of conduct as opposed to the natural environment. And so it is the direct 06/23/2022. Give me 1 second. Let me look at that is the demon possessed entity that knows that I'm inside of my office. Knocking is audible activity, just as an FYI. And they're all monitoring on my phone as well. So I want to show you, let me see, 9:42, here you go. 10:29, forgive me. Here's 10:29. At no point,
This is light activity.
at no point is the sun over the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, same time of year. This is June 23rd, 2022 at 10:29 in the morning. And the entity that's driving by me in the parking lot, engineer light, just like you saw Universal Waste, driving by me while the light source is over me. At 9 o'clock in the morning, it's not jumping to be over 8303 Haven Avenue in Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. And by the way, on this day, on June 23rd, 2022, the light source did not move to in any way depart from remaining over my head until the end of the day. And so you're talking about under no circumstances evading or avoiding, rebutting, contradicting, changing under any circumstances the body of evidence. So this is why I'm showing you, I'm capturing video of ongoing demonic circling, flying over my head, flying over my office in helicopter. The entity is doing so in the same exact specific environment with real-time knowledge. It's documentation of what is malice, while that helicopter stalking, in other words, as we'll refer to it, is underway while the light source is covered up and the entity is engaging in that same pattern, and the elements of monitoring still remain, okay, at that. But I want to remind you about who is simultaneously being prosecuted, and that includes Lisa Rogan, who is, again, a judge, a demon-possessed one, a documented group stalker, and one engaging in what is kidnapping at the venue of 8303 Haven Avenue, where this light source is directly over my head, not going to be present, remaining over my head, which by virtue of what I'm showing you on at 9:03 in the morning, where the light source is remaining as a matter of documentation until 5:21 in the evening, that documentation is establishing the maintenance of the light source, suggesting that the sun is present at one property, even setting in alignment to my bedroom window after 6 p.m. Look at the documentation, suggesting that that's the natural environment. That's never the natural environment. It is the pattern of conduct. And the entity is maintaining this environment as I'm capturing it on June 23rd.
Intentional monitoring conduct. All right. And this is speaking to the...
Okay, at 10:29 in the morning, you're remembering this evidence that's captured while the entity is maintaining a light source over me here in Los Angeles. And this is already specifically captured at this property, but it's also within the evidence when you're capturing the timeline, the duration of time. 5:21 p.m. last night, and you have what is 9:03 in the morning as I captured weeks prior. It is equally impossible, and it is not evidence that's forgotten. There is an ongoing continuous criminal system that is never taking a pause. And the entity is exhibiting what is high malice, in other words. That's what you're understanding, while they're stalking in helicopters, doing so in a specific environment, still engaging in what is that ongoing elements of monitoring with real-time knowledge of any and everything that you're doing, while they are group stalking with the people of the state. So this is what you are looking at. Hold on, when I want you to see what the entity is doing on helicopter, because this cloudy day, this light source is covering up. You've already captured the light source over me at 9 o'clock in the morning when I'm standing at this same position. Yesterday in the afternoon, 12:50 in the afternoon, the light source is over me at this same exact location while I'm facing the same location where I'm standing here in the morning. This is 9:21 in the morning. It does not change the fact that as I stepped outside right now, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The entity is maintaining a light source over the Fontana Lewis Library as I documented on April 29, 2022. Okay, where Stephanie Ortiz engaged in criminal summoning. Okay, the entity is maintaining a light source directly over your head and stalking. What is going on now with regard to the state? They're stalking in an environment where you have what is equally impossible with regard to the maintenance of that environment. And covering up that light source, which is what is underway, as opposed to some cloudy day. You don't even have to, in other words, let me be clear, you do not have to articulate what this is. It's the natural operation of the weather that's cloudy. It is the same equally demonic control of that environment for purposes of what is an entity that's aware that it's being documented. You can name it whatever you want. The sunrise is already documented in alignment with me through my windows of my living room apartment, my living room that is on the same property. Okay, and this through my bedroom window on the same property, there is the documented so-called sunset, which I also captured on video yesterday after 6 p.m. The time frame of what I'm capturing today at 11:52 in the morning is never the natural environment by virtue of just duration of time. You have the light source that's directly over my head as I'm capturing and stepping out of my office, and the entity is group stalking by helicopter. It is the P.O.C.
The light source is directly above my head.
All right, and then remaining captured present at the same address, setting in alignment to my bedroom window. So this is exposing, again, like I said, the entity's malice is serving to prosecute, and I'm going to prosecute by name those who are not being protected. Lisa Rogan, she's going to federal prison, okay? This is the documentation of her criminal conduct at the courthouse of 8303 Haven Avenue, where the sun is never going to be present, ever, contrary to what I documented during the same time of year, which was June 23rd, 2022. She engaged in criminal defamation through both her speech, which is audible activity. Engineered light filled that courtroom as I documented it pursuant to this entity's criminal act of kidnapping by an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. This same entity that's stalking in helicopters is engaged in criminal summoning with the people of the state, stalking in the path, using their police lights, stalking while the state flies over in helicopter, which I captured Jason Knighton and L. Keys of the Ontario Police Department, who are then kidnapping. And then you have what is the entertainment of this fictitious prosecution by Lisa Rogan. And while the pattern of conduct is underway, which is what I'm capturing on video, the significance of capturing that video as I'm showing you the light source that's over me at that venue. By the way, on June 23rd, before my phone dies, the entity was maintaining a light source over me in what is Rancho Cucamonga as I left the courthouse. There's no sun that's going to be over Alvarado Gardens. This is the entity that's maintaining that specific environment where I am present in Rancho, as you can see, at 12:13 in the afternoon, and the entity has a light source over me here. So that's capturing the P.O.C. I'm going to upload the names of these judges who are group stalking, engaged in kidnapping, because they're all going to federal prison. The names of the DAs and the PDs engaged in the fictitious prosecutions, which LAPD is not protecting. The people of the state are not protecting. They're equally prosecuted. And I want to be clear, it's understanding and revealing malice, okay? The light source revealed at any time of the day at this property is the same exact criminal system. It is currently 1:23 p.m. The entity is maintaining this light source over me at this address, and it's directly over my head. It is not at the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. This is P.O.C. Amplification of audible activity, light source directly over me. Is there something I can help you with? This is P.O.C.